Hello, it's Colette from the Sacred Rose Temple, and I am here with this week's energy report for the 21st of October, 2024. Okay, we're coming up to another biggie. Tomorrow is the 22nd, and this is a really big transition. I think this is going to feel bigger than all that we've just come through in terms of feeling a shift of transformation and a shift of change. There's going to be different scenarios for many of us. I believe that there will be a shift of energy felt for some of us, maybe into a bigger space of empowerment. It doesn't mean to say that the other things that have been moving in our psyche are disappearing. We might still feel a little anxiety or a little bit of overwhelm or a little bit of sadness or grief or whatever's been moving through us. That's going to just take some time to relieve from the psyche because we've entered into really deep core wounds. They do not ever, just release and go. There's kind of like a field and a trail of movement as we release from them. So just be aware that that's still there. But what's coming from the core of the self once a trauma or the wounds have moved is just a true, more feeling of the soul and what the soul wants. I think that we're really all being shifted to feel onto what does the soul mean? What is the soul? How does my soul get the opportunity and chance to drive my life rather than wounds and pains in the mind? And if we can drop into soul space, if we can find, some stillness, some peace, maybe in a somatic practice or a yoga practice or, not a meditation that takes us out into the highs, into the glittery, but a meditation that takes us inward, down and deep so that we can feel what's going on inside of us, so we can feel the soul, because emotions, don't forget, make you closer to the soul. They are what take us into our true empowerment. They will release any fears that we're holding in the mind, in the somatic field, and take us down into that soul place. So I think because this energy is kind of changing and closing the doors on the last 16 years, what we're closing the doors on is fear, a trauma, a wounds, old patterns, are the lower self, are the ways that we've operated in the past, the diminishing of the self, the being in the mind, the being in the wounds, the being in the trauma, and not being true to the soul. So it's also bringing us, having said that, that's going to bring us into a higher version of ourself. And that higher version of ourself is no longer going to dilute itself. I for sure have been getting tests over the last few days into where am I diluting? Where am I minimizing? Where am I not holding true to what I believe in, what I want, where I'm going, what I feel? And who are the people that I am around that make me dilute that? Not that they make me, but that I make me dilute that. And just being sensitive of finding the right people. And it's better to be on your own and work by yourself until the right people come forward. And Jung says, if you work conscientiously on your soul and the inner work, then the right people will find you. And I truly believe that. So if we're working on the alchemy, if we're working on the transformation, we're looking at what needs to be gone, what shadows lie within us. And the thing I find with shadow work and people is that we always want to look at the poor me or the victim or the rose tinted glasses version of the self. And that is not how we work with the deeper shadow. The ego likes to think it's doing shadow work by doing that. But behind the ego, we will see ourselves as quite not, like darker, that, wow, yeah, I've just lived in such like patterns that have been very detrimental to me because of my experience of life. And I've been scared of being a stronger person because that might make my friendship circle smaller, or that might make people not like me. And I'm scared of that. So it comes into like the alchemy is, in the alchemical process, there's putrefaction, there's the darkening before any other process can happen. And so that's why I've been really going on about that over the last months, like putrefaction, darkening, pulling down, going into feeling the emotion. You don't get to skip that. all you get to do is bypass that. And that's very clear. I still see people bypassing emotion. And when you bypass emotion, you bypass motion. So I'm going to be very clear of that. I had a beautiful experience today that I felt someone really drop into a deep sense of emotion, and that moved some layers and some places where they felt that they had diluted themselves and were able to say, no, this is what I stand for. I stand for this. And that's really amazing place. That's what getting to emotion does. It motions us towards the soul. And the soul has a very clear, direct voice. If we miss the emotion, then what we do is we just go to the ego's voice, and the ego wants to tell us something. So the emotional aspect of the self is super important during this period, especially tomorrow when we'll feel a surge of emotion. So I'm really recommending that tomorrow you spend some time in being. Just sit down in nature, go sit down on the grass, go sit down in the sunshine. We've got lovely sun here in France. And just breathe in and try to put your phone away and try to put the questions away and your life's problems away, and just allow the space to come into feeling, come into emotion, and to let the soul speak. And that will serve you really well in this, current season. We are working through a faster movement right now as we come into Scorpio season, and Scorpio energy is really much more whiplash, much quicker. And Scorpio energy is fast moving. It will try to feel like we haven't got enough time. I think I operate in a lot of Scorpio energy as well, and it's in my chart. But feeling that Scorpio energy that's asking us to move a little bit quicker with this. Okay, so what's going to be moving now through Scorpio? What do I have to do? What emotions are still stuck in me that I need to get out so I can make transformation? And it will feel very broken. And it's a real part of transformation is that like putrefaction, that darkening. There's a feeling of stuckness for a little while in there, but you've got to trust that the process brings us out the other side. So don't give up. What you are and will be pulling away from specifically is distractions from your soul, the things that have distracted you from healing your soul. That might be the distractions of work. That might be the distractions of another person that you've been giving your energy to. That might be the distractions of, addictions, or just futile time spent on things that are not bringing our soul to life. Creativity, music, events, enlivening yourself, going out for dinner with friends who have really good, deep conversation, going listening to soul, like lightening music. Those kinds of things will really be important for coming into a really beautiful space of transformation and allowing the soul to come into, that place that is trying to be born. And let's not forget, our unconscious mind is 90% of our behaviors. That means you don't know about what drives 90% of your behaviors. That's pretty big, isn't it? So this is an opportunity to come into that. What we are working with, I think for many of us, is the unworthiness, is the dilution, not being good enough, and stepping into a place that you say humbly, gracefully and humbly, okay, this is where I'm at. If you can be humble enough, and where do I go from here? If this is where I'm really at, where do I go from here? And how do I just operate from this space? Not a space of perfection, not a space of needing to be better, but a space of this is where I am at. And if I can honor and hold that space exactly where I am, the truth of where I am, I move from this space, it will only ever connect to my higher self should I keep giving it time and food. And the food is aliveness, and the food is soul space, and the food is connection, and the food is nature, and the food is those people that want to raise you, that are trying to help you connect to yourself more, that allow you to take space to grow and challenge you also into growth. Many of us are removed. We remove ourselves from any space that might challenge us or any person that might challenge us. Challenge is good if that person has intention of you doing it to increase your soul awareness, to bring up the healing, to move wounds, to empower you. Be around that kind of person, because they will, you will see, bring transformation to others and to you. Don't run away from that. So there's going to be more, but I'm trying to drip feed you all that wants to come through this very potent time. So take this wind of change. There was a really deep lightning in the sky last night here in France. I really felt this visceral, cosmic change of lightness, of the darkening, of the putrefaction beginning to lift, and slowly going with that and trusting the flow of that. Stop trying to control, make the space and flow with it, finding the soul's voice and the path that the soul wishes to walk. So I'm sending you again blessings and love and healing and empowerment. Bye for now.